Hey friends, before we jump into today's episode, if you've been listening to the podcast for a while and it's been helping you, I'd love for you to take your next step with us. The Ready, Set, Grow Mastermind is where we go beyond conversations and actually help you put these principles into practice. So every week, think about it. You're going to join pastors from around the world for live coaching, practical tools, and proven systems where you can put this into practice right away. So whether you're trying to break a growth barrier, you're trying to build a stronger team, or create systems that are going to help your church thrive, this mastermind is going to give you the coaching and support to make it happen. And here's one of my favorite parts. Every pastor who joins the mastermind is actually helping another church that otherwise couldn't afford the coaching. So when you invest in your church, you're also investing in another pastor and another church. So if you're ready to take the next step, go to readysetgrowchurch.com and you can learn more. And let's jump into today's episode. Hello, my friends, and welcome to the Ready, Set, Grow podcast. I am Mark Brewer, and I have Scott Wilson and Hunter Wilson with me today. By the way, if this is helping you, please make sure that you like and subscribe and invite your friends to be a part of this podcast. You know, I get a lot of texts and emails and phone messages from pastors asking, hey, do you know anybody who could be a youth pastor or a campus pastor or a whatever position? Yeah, it's all the time. What's interesting is I'll almost always do a follow-on with, hey, I know some people, or yes, I'm in contact with some people. Can you give me a profile of what that looks like? What are they going to be paid? What's their role?
What are you looking for?
What are you looking for? What are the expectations? What kind of person do you want? And you know what happens a lot of times? It goes into crickets and they never send me the profile. But I think in my mind, wow, if you can't send me a profile, you probably don't have the profile. And if you don't have the profile, it's hard to know if you have the right person or even where to go look for the right person.
Well, if you don't start with a profile, there's some danger here. Number one, you're going to meet somebody, and if they are kind, relational, your first impression is good.
Yeah.
You think, hey, well, they look like they could do it. Then and even if they don't fit totally kind of the whole job, you might even go, I like this guy so much, let's just give this guy on our staff this part of the portfolio, do this. You start arranging it to what the job is, to who the person is, instead of finding the right person for the job you need. This gets real serious when I was asked, there was a succession type thing going on, and somebody asked me to come in to interview the person they thought on the staff who could take it. And I said, sure, I'll go do it. And I said, could you get me a preferred profile of what it is? And they said, no, we just need you to see if you think this guy would fit. And I said, but if you don't have a preferred profile, I don't know how to evaluate him and measure to it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you already know he's a good guy. You already like him. He wouldn't be doing this. So it's just going to be me giving you a...
help me help you.
Yeah. It's basically me, what do you call it? Self-fulfilled prophecy or that type of deal. We think he's good. Could you just come in and give us greater confidence that you think he's good too?
Sure.
And I'm going, we already know he's going to be good.
But
I just
nothing
don't
to
know he's
measure
going to be
against.
good for what you're looking for.
Yeah.
So number one is you could change the job to fit the person instead of finding the right person for the job you need because you haven't defined it. Number two, you don't have any way to evaluate if that person is actually a good fit or not. Number three, many times you know how many times people call me and say, I can't find a kids pastor. There are none anywhere. Okay. Or I can't find, there aren't any good worship leaders out there, whatever. And that is a frustration that is starting with, I don't even know what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
It's hard to find something that you have not defined what it is. And so you say, I have defined it's a kids pastor. Yes, but what does that kid pastor look like? What are the attributes? What are all of the different things? If you don't know what you're looking for, I say it every time we do this, I use the same illustration because it just makes sense to me. I used to watch the show 24. I know it's old. I'm dating myself this, but Kiefer Sutherland, his name? Yeah. And so he's so cool in that, and he's driving around that black Tahoe. So I go, you know what? I'm going to get a new car. I'm going to get a black Tahoe. I don't know anybody who has a black Tahoe, and I think it's the coolest looking car. So I went to go find a black Tahoe. I got it, and the moment I drove off the lot to go back to my house, I saw 4 of them. And I'm going, I don't think those people just bought those, like, oh, now, hey, I got one. Everybody's getting one. I think they were on the road all the time. I just didn't have it as a preferred profile.
Yeah.
It wasn't in my mind. You will see things you're looking for.
Yeah.
And so if you haven't defined a preferred profile of what you're looking for, then you probably are having a hard time seeing them. When you define, I'm not saying, oh yeah, now they'll show up everywhere. You will start going, well, that person does have this. It may be the right person.
You're really trying to fix your focus. I've heard it said before, what you magnify gets bigger.
Exactly.
Right? And so you're looking for, you're kind of like adjusting the filters in your microscope type thing to look for what you're trying to find.
So one more little clarification that I want to get deep. Let's talk about a preferred profile that we created, a template to be able to go through that we're actually going to give to everybody here too to download. But like when you were saying, how large is your church? How many are in that group that they would run? How many small groups do you want it to be? Whatever. All of those things. Those things are more what I would call a church profile that is partnered with a preferred profile for staff. So in other words, the church profile is, this is who we are, this is what we value, this is our vision, this is our mission, so that when you're interviewing someone, you want them to see, here's who we are. So, for instance, if they call you and say, I need to find a kids pastor, okay? You say, cool, I know some, tell me what you're looking for. Okay, that's helping me to approach, I think this person is somebody who fits kind of your profile. The church profile is what I'm going to give to that person to say, hey, I think this church is looking for somebody like you.
Yeah.
Would you want to see if there's somebody worth you talking to?
Yeah.
Okay. So it's both. You got to have your church profile so you can show them what it is. And then you need to have a preferred profile so we can know who we're looking for.
Yep. So inside of this, again, it's all rooted in, it's really hard to find something you don't know what you're looking for.
Yep.
Right. So inside of this, we gave you a preferred profile that you can download in the show notes of this episode, but let's just walk through it. And then maybe you can give me some clarification of why you added this component to it. So in the preferred profile, we're defining the hire before we start the search, okay? So on the first page, what we do is we talk about what does a win look like at 1 year in this role, and what does a win look like in the first 90 days?
Yeah, I think when we're talking about that, saying like if it's like, it's not as easy to go like, what is a win in this ministry, for this? It's like right now as I'm looking at it, what would I want this person coming in to be able to accomplish in the first year? That's helping me now to kind of get more focused on understanding where we're at and where we're wanting to go. So when I'm talking to the person, I'm understanding, do I think this person could pull that off in a year? That helps me. The first 90 days, huge. It's first impression.
Yeah.
It's setting trajectory and their first impression to our church, to our team, to everyone.
Yeah.
So when I'm saying in the first 90 days, that's something not only am I putting on there like in my profile, it's also something that I'm wanting them to understand. In the first 90 days,
process,
these are the things you've got to do.
Because all along the way, as you are working through this profile and developing the profile, you are, number one, qualifying them. Secondly, they're qualifying themselves.
Yep.
So as you guys are working through this profile, as we're working through a profile with someone, it gives them a tool to be able to qualify themselves and not just be on your side.
In all of this, a good hire is a win-win.
Exactly.
That's the whole point. It's a win for me to have you on the team, and it's a win for you to be here, hopefully. And that's what we're trying to discover.
It's got to be a good fit on both sides.
Yeah.
In other words, I'm not just interviewing them, they're interviewing me in the process in our church.
And so I think part of that first 90 days and that first year is you as a leader, which only a leader can do, is clarify the expectations of pacing and priorities. So pacing is what I expect in this time frame. Priorities is what things out of all the things you could be doing, here's the things I want you to prioritize the most.
You know how we talk cycles and cooldowns all the time. So in a cycle, everybody has like their 3 goals with their 6 responsibilities. What I'm basically doing is describing that in the beginning as part of what it is. And the first 90 days is I'm saying stuff like this. It's almost universal.
Yeah.
Relationships first. I've already written down the top 20 leaders in this organization. I would want you to eat lunch with every one of them. I would want you to get to know them, build relationship with them, because that's first. Secondly, I want you to see everything. You get what I'm saying? Is that I'm prioritizing and I'm showing them what I think. And basically on that one, I'd go, hey, in the first 90 days, what do you think you'd want to accomplish when you're here? The two answers I would be looking for is, number one, whatever you tell me you think is most important. That I would be very impressed with that.
Yeah.
Okay. Secondly, it would be, hey, I would want to build relationships and get in here and hear from you.
You talk a lot about with helping people to grow in their influence. That influence is built by respect and relationship. Respect's going to be coming from the competency in their role. Relationship is the other part of the ingredient. It's kind of like two wings of a plane. Which one do you want to fail? Well, neither. I want both so we can fly, right? So I want to do well in my role. So help me clarify the expectations and priorities, but also I need to build relationships with people if I'm going to be a leader here. So part of what you're doing there is helping them to understand that their influence is going to be built at the speed at which they can build relationships.
I'm also wanting to see if they see it.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm going to ask them first. Say, hey, what would you see as a success in the first year? What would you see in the first 90 days would be priority?
Yeah.
I want to hear what they say first. Then I'll say, well, let me share with you what I think.
Yeah.
And so we're seeing, and if they go, okay, that's not how I see it. Like that. Like I want to hear them, but if it's okay if they had an idea, and then when I share it, they go, oh, yours is better. Or, you get what I'm saying? There's not like if they don't match it totally. It's that where am I feeling that they're catching on and their ability to do it?
All right, so then we're going to go onto the second page here, and we're going to get some fundamentals out of the way. So there's the position title, who they report to, whether that's you or the executive pastor. Maybe that's news to them. It's like, oh, our old church didn't do that. Or, this is my first time here. I didn't know I'd be reporting to them. Okay. Then is this a full-time role, a part-time role, or a contract role? That's just clarifying expectations there. You could probably get into the compensation inside of that as well. This is a full-time position.
And I think those right there are more about us getting it clear in our head.
Yeah.
They probably already know when we're coming to the interview. I don't have to say, hey, this apart. I mean, it could be, but it's basically
when we're building the profile,
in my mind,
we're looking for a part-time person, a contract person, full-time
Yes.
person. All right. So the next section 2, is we're going to write out what this person is always accountable for every cycle. So most likely your job description, what we like to do is built up of 6 areas of responsibility.
Right.
So these are the things that don't go away, that I don't finish. These aren't projects. These are things that when you think about my role and you're like, they're doing a great job. What areas of responsibility are you thinking of?
So if I'm interviewing you, I'm not going to tell you that at first. I'm going to say, hey, what do you think are the 6 most important areas of responsibility as a youth pastor, as a worship pastor, whatever it is? Tell me what you think in order of priority or what it would be like that.
Yeah.
Just like ongoing
So let me make
job.
sure I'm clear here. So I'm a pastor. I'm going to use this profile. I'm going to go ahead and fill this out.
Yes.
Okay. But I also want to allow the person that's being interviewed to fill this out. And then part of that interview process is this comparing notes.
Exactly.
Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay.
So if there's totally nothing wrong with you giving this to them, and you could fill in it's a part-time or it's blah, 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 whatever it is.
Some of it's just logistics.
But then the other, and have them say, would you fill this out when you come in? This is what I want to talk about.
Yep.
Totally cool. But I always want them to go first. I want to hear what they have to say, and then I want to share and then see how they react and function.
Yeah.
Are we close? Do they fight and buck? Get it?
Yeah, so inside of this, what we're going to see if you're downloading this is the responsibilities on the left, and on the right column, there is what does success look like. So with areas of responsibility, it's different from projects to be completed. A project is done well when you check all the boxes and you complete the outcome.
Yep.
An area of responsibility is something that you don't complete. It's a standard by which you measure yourself up against, and you are meeting the expectation of that standard, right? So let's just say it's like red, yellow, or green. Red is you're underperforming to that standard. Yellow is somewhat, and green is you are meeting and exceeding consistently at the expectation. What we're saying over here on the right-hand side.
Like a youth service, And
Yeah,
then
so
they're
like-
describing what that youth service at Green would look like.
Exactly. Yeah. So if some of the responsibilities of a youth pastor would be, I want like a youth service, parent communication. We want kids in groups, building relationships with other, Christ-like kids.
I'm going to be
their
recruiting.
age.
I'm going to be recruiting and training volunteers. So here's what
we
that
want
would
kids
look like.
to go on missions trips.
Those are the responsibilities. The
Then
other
what
side is what does that look like
in
if
that
it's going great
responsibility?
in that responsibility? Yeah.
Okay, good.
All right, so now we're going to go to section 3 here. So we're really going, again, when we talked about the first year, the first 90 days, but overall in section 3, it tops it off by saying, what are like the top 3 outcomes this role must deliver? When we're talking about this, how do you guys think that differs from the 6 responsibilities that are active this cycle? It's like, is it kind of just like a bottom line? Here's like the top things that I'm thinking about in this role.
Oh, well, I think that's just overall of in this deal, I want disciples made. I want people getting saved, disciples made. I want there to be you having a relational connection with parents like that. I mean, I think it's basically saying, here's your 6 responsibilities. Here's your first 90 days. But when I'm thinking about this job, the 3 biggest things I want to know is you're developing leaders.
That's how I think about it. It's kind of like the bottom line,
Yeah.
overarching for this role.
And for me, on all of those top roles, it's basically saying, I'm not hiring you to do the youth ministry or the kids ministry. I'm hiring you to raise up leaders who are going to do it.
Which is really well transitioned to the next part, because it talks about the leadership level required. And it gives 3 options here of a worker, equipper, or a leader of leaders. Can you explain what that means?
Leader of leaders is well, the first is people think I'm hiring him to be a worker. Like, hey, I want you to do youth ministry. So, do that. And my whole job is to be with the kids and do that. Yes, I want you to have a relationship with them, but your whole job isn't to do that. To be an equipper is the next level. An equipper is, I'm training volunteers how to be a good host for small group, or how to be crowd control on Wednesday nights, or
I'm
whatever it is.
I'm a team lead of the doers.
Yes, exactly. Leaders of leaders is, I'm asking you to come on and to be a person who's leading others who are leading other people that are doers.
Yeah, so let's do a call out real quick here. I think if you're a lead pastor here, you are working with profiles that have to do with departmental leaders. So whether it's the worship pastor, the youth pastor, the kids pastor, that's the type of profile you're going to be working through. But this profile also works with other levels in the organization. And there are some roles that you're not expecting that person to be a leader of leaders. Mm-hmm. Okay, so we've seen this, especially as your church scales and grows. You might have multiple team on your operations and finance team where they are task driven, not people driven. But the call out here is that we would say you cannot hire someone to lead a department, a key department of ministry, that is not a leader of leaders or has the ability and capacity to get there
Thanks
pretty
for saying
quickly.
that. You're right. Because if we're interviewing somebody who is going to be an assistant, an executive assistant, their job is to do.
Yeah.
If you're hiring somebody in the finance department, that is to do.
Again, this is a framework for you to help clarify what are you looking for.
Yes.
This isn't something that I'm going to give to the person or let them see my notes. These are things that can help you in the interview process, and it helps you know what you're looking for. Meaning, we're about to go into something where that's going to be especially true, but you don't want to circle worker here and they think to themselves, you don't think I can be a leader? Like, that's not what we're looking for in this role. But on the opposite is true. If you think that your role is to do ministry and you're expected to be the leader of leaders, and where you're handing out mics rather than being on the mic type approach, that's probably something in those top 3 outcomes that you would want to be. Is like, hey, just so you know, like, here's our expectation here is that you're going to be a multiplier. Like, I'm not paying you to do ministry. I'm paying you to be a leader of other leaders.
Yep.
All right.
Good.
Stage of life needed. That's really talking about the margin, the season, the family capacity, all that kind of stuff. That's just helpful on our side of like, hey, do you need them to be like, oh, I'm never hiring a kids pastor again that doesn't have kids because that just burned me the last time. Like, I'm looking for somebody that's married because blah, blah, blah. Or I don't care if they're married or single, if they're 22, I don't really care. Well, that's helping you to know and filter your search. And then down here, we're going with the red flags and green lights. Okay. Red flags and green lights. I want you guys to talk about this because these really probably came out of pain points. So I want you to help me in this. So let me give you some of the red flags that if this is coming up inside of the interview process, these are probably some red flags that might trigger, like, this might not be a good hire. Number one is they cannot articulate what winning looks like in their role. Number two, and you guys can stop me if any of them.
Yep.
I think we already talked about that. Spoke negatively or with contempt about their previous employer or pastor.
Okay, this is one that we deal with regularly, especially when someone's coming out of a culture that isn't set up to be a place where people can actually thrive for a long time.
Yeah.
So everybody's experienced that at some point. So how do they communicate that? To you in the interview process? Gives you some great information about the type of person they are, mentally and emotionally.
Yeah, you can say it wasn't good in a way that is like, hey, it just didn't work for me. Some of the problems that were like this, but it's not like, dude, my pastor was an idiot, because it's telling me how they will now speak about me.
If there's a missed expectation. So if I have come out of a culture that was difficult or problematic, I can say things like, hey, you know what? We got to an impasse in what they were expecting and what I could produce or what I wanted to do or how I wanted to get after the Great Commission became big enough where it was time for me to leave. Okay, that's different than, oh man, that place sucks and they did this and they did that. We would want to be
people coming in that are bitter. I don't need people coming in that are broken in a they have a negative slant to them.
You know what's interesting? There's a priest friend of mine that he says that this way. He says, I'm not running from something, I'm running to something. And I think when we're interviewing people, we want to see what they're running to, not what they're running from, because that could be problematic.
And I'm curious because this goes well to the next one. It says, if you're asking them about the role and like, why is this a good fit for you? Like, why do you want to be a youth pastor here? Why would you want to blah, blah, blah? Is they have enthusiasm without specifics. They love the idea, but haven't counted the cost. Is that something that you're like, man, if you're not really specific about the calling on your life, about what God's calling you to, what you're running towards, is that a red flag to you?
It can be, because there's a lot of dynamics that go into being in a local church, especially if they're coming from another town, another area of the country, another part of the world. Okay, we need to recognize that there are pieces that are going to impact how you feel and how you function. So yeah, I would want to know some specificity about what they think they're getting involved in. I always like to do this when I was interviewing people, because usually by the time it got to me, there had already been 2 or 3 other interviews. And I'd like to ask them, hey, what do you think you're saying yes to?
Yeah.
Like, give me a real bit of information about what you think we're promising you and what you think you're actually saying yes to. And some of the conversations were a little funny, and I'd have to shore that up. And others, they were right on. They knew exactly what they were doing.
It's a great question. But part of what I'm wanting to know here is, can they articulate a calling on their life, not just a desire? Some people who are coming into ministry for the first time, it seems glorious, or it seems fun, or it seems purposeful. And so like, man, I don't want to work out there where there's jerks or there's problems and all that. I'm saying, listen, they're a jerk. It may not be on our team, or it may be on our team, but there are going to be conflicts. It's not without it because we're Christian, so I'm wanting to articulate, when did God call you into ministry, or when do you sense this calling on your life?
Yeah, I think it's a big deal. The last one we have on here is references that can't give concrete examples of their impact. So let's go to the green flags. This is some things that are really good in moving forward. This is a good sign. Their self-assessment matches what you observed in the interview. It's green light. Number 2 is our team that interviewed them wants them on our team.
Yeah, so when we're talking about that, we didn't say this earlier, but I think it's very important. I'm not very good at interviewing people. This has helped me. This is a tool that has helped me get good. Yeah. I'm not very good because I'm pretty good at pastoring. What I mean by that is I want to believe the best of everybody and help them to see how God could use them.
Oh, by the way, you're not just good at pastoring. You're really, really good at casting vision. And it was hard for you to be at the top end of or the beginning stages of interviewing. Because honestly, when people would get in the room with you, Scott, they would get sucked up into this vision vortex. And whether they were called or not called, there was just something so relatable and so exciting and something so expansive about what God is doing.
In other words, that's a good gift.
It's
just
gift.
Not a good gift in that to be used in an interview because I'm trying to
and it's easy to fall into
get them in. I'm trying to find out, are they a good fit?
Yeah. It's easy to fall into that temptation because it's like a visionary leader is casting the vision and seeing excitement in the other person's eyes that they would want to be a part of that. And they're like, I like them. And it's like, no, you like your
you like how they responded
to
the vision.
They were awesome, dude. I think
you
that's
like
the
their
person.
vision. You know nothing about the person.
So I think what we did is we started doing profiles to help. Mm-hmm. The second thing we did is I interviewed last. Yeah. And I had 4 other people who would take different parts of this or have different, like, hey, let's go to lunch and just see, can they relate well? Hey, let's see,
And part of the name of where the green lights come from is the people that interviewed before you guys would give a red, yellow, or green light.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So
if somebody gave a red light, I never hired anybody who had a red light from anybody. Yeah. And so that if they said red light and everybody else is green and all that, I'd go, okay, let's really talk about this. Do you think it's a red or a yellow? A caution. No, I'm telling you it's red. Most of the time, if it could go to yellow like this, but if it was a red, it's out. Yeah. And people would know that, and so they know there's a responsibility to what they're saying. Yeah. If it was all green lights by the time it got to me, then now I can use my, as you would say, superpower of vision cast and find out. And only 2 times I can remember, and all the times we did this, did I ever say at the end after everybody gave green light, I don't want them. I don't. They're not a good fit. And people go like, well, we all liked them. I said, I'm telling you, if I don't like it, it doesn't work.
Because you still, as the lead pastor, you give the first account to God on any hire that we bring onto this team to be able to shepherd the flock. So if you're not sensing it from the Lord, and sometimes it wasn't a bad thing, it was just like, hey, they're all green, but God isn't saying to do this. Okay.
So the important thing on this is, I would say it was like a coin toss when we first were interviewing people and doing that, a 50-50 of whether it worked. From going the profile and going with the other people interviewing first, I would say we went to about 90% of people being a good fit.
Yeah, and that's what I would just conclude with this is there's other things inside of here, but I think those are the macro frameworks that like really are going to help you inside of this is no one is going to be able to know for sure if it's going to work out. All you're really trying to do is set up frameworks and systems and processes to be able to help you to increase the odds.
Exactly.
You're trying to increase the odds of the perceived likelihood of this working out increases, right?
Let's just put it this way. Before I did this process, I remember times hiring people, and then once Mark met them, he would go in and go, I give that 3 weeks. Yeah. I'm going, I don't want that. And he was right, and so I'm going, dude, I need people to help me on this. I can't do it on my own.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, what you magnify gets bigger, and it's really hard to find something if you don't know what you're looking for. So this preferred profile not only helps you, but it helps the people on your team that are going to be a part of that interview process to know what we're looking for, to where we don't fall in love with our own vision. We fall in love with the person, and it's a win-win partnership where this is working out for us because you match perfectly what we're looking for, and they're finding a win of like, this is where I think the next vehicle of where God's calling me to be in ministry and make a difference for the kingdom.
Yeah. Hey, thank you for joining us here today again. This profile is in the show notes, and if this has been a benefit to you, feel free to share it with your friends. We look forward to seeing you on the next podcast.